Hello, everyone. Welcome to Heart and Mind. I'm Dr. Dina McMillan, and it's Tuesday, so we're here. And based on what you've indicated you want to know more about, today's episode is really exciting. We're going to talk about maximizing your influence superpower. Now, we're talking about maximizing influence professionally and personally. So, this is a really big episode. Sit there, watch, pay attention, or recognize you can always go back and watch the recording. Join us every Tuesday live. Now, if you are watching this live, if you sign on whatever platform you're watching it live, you can actually ask questions, make comments during the broadcast, and get them responded to right away. So wherever you're watching this, please sign in. Now join us every Tuesday. Usually I chose Tuesdays because Tuesdays are usually pretty dull. You're not even to the middle of the week. The week's just started. Nothing much is going on. Now you have something exciting. No more boring Tuesdays. Join us live on Rumble, X, Daily Clout, Facebook, and Getter. And if you aren't able to join us live, I usually post the episodes on my X feed, which is at Dr. Dina1, or you can watch it on Daily Clout. Rumble has all of the episodes, and you can also watch it on YouTube. This is important information, and it's worth your while. If you find something interesting, it's worth your while to watch it more than once. And I say that as a social psychologist. Now, most people don't know what a social psychologist is, and I've been getting a lot of new viewers, and thank you very much if you're starting to join us. So I still have to explain what that is. We study the brain. We're not like a clinical psychologist who looks at, neuroses, psychosis, trauma from your childhood. That's not where we focus, although I have taken quite a few psychology courses that's par for the course for anybody studying any type of psychology. But we study the brain, and we look at how the brain absorbs information, how it learns, how it's persuaded and influenced, how it's manipulated, coerced, indoctrinated, brainwashed. We are the evil science. And I say that not just because we observe what goes on and how these things happen, but social psychology also does experiments where we study what can be done to alter someone's beliefs and behavior, especially how can it be done without alerting them that it was an outside force pulling the strings. And that is my purpose for having the show and doing my work with my company, Ethical Strategic Solutions, and everything I do. I am bringing this knowledge out of academia, out of that little isolated place where they can get away with all of what they do, and I bring it to the public. So I want to thank you for joining me and also alert you it's the reason, unlike most shows that talk about various topics, I will put videos sometimes, but regardless of what I talk about, I always have vivid imagery on the screen because studies have found that if you have imagery that is relevant to what is being discussed, whether it's written or spoken, you're more likely to remember it. So I don't want you to just find this show interesting. I want this information to stick in your mind, in the parts of your brain that wake up in heightened circumstances, when you're emotional, when you're fearful, when you're hungry, when you're sexually aroused. I want this information available, and that only happens if I present the information in a particular way, which is one of the reasons, again, with my company, Ethical Strategic Solutions, I talk about the fact that we do things differently. Whether we're teaching your material or you give us a topic and we teach our material, we teach it and expose people to it based on how they'll learn best. and based on how they will realistically access that information when a real life situation occurs. Now, talking about information that is so key to know, please, 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 if you find anything valuable in this show, please buy your own copy of the Pfizer papers. You can easily get it on Amazon. This is such important work because the Pfizer they went to court and tried to petition to get the information of the studies on all of their products, especially the COVID-19 vaccines, et cetera, et cetera. They tried to get that stifled, silenced for 75 years. The court said no. So then they tried to overwhelm the public with so much detail that nobody would go through it and realize what was going on. Well, Dr. Naomi Wolf, Amy Kelly, and the rest of their incredible team of physicians and researchers and virologists, cardiologists, all got together and over a period of years went through the paperwork and actually they simplified. They took out the relevant information, they simplified it so the public could be alerted as to what was going on. And buying your copy helps support the work of this network. It supports Daily Cloud. So please, please do yourself a favor, do your family a favor, and get your own copy of the Pfizer papers. Now, let's move on to today's topic. Dun, 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 dun. Maximize your influence superpower. Yes, we all want to know that other people respect us, that they'll listen to us. We're going to talk about some ways that you can be more influential, even if at the time the person pretends that they're not paying attention. So I'm taking this social psychology and I'm alerting you to ways you can become more influential without doing anything unethical, without manipulating anyone. Think about how your life would be different if you had more influence. Let's talk about it. What if the next big crash is already in motion and almost no one sees it coming? Every major economic collapse since 1929 was preceded by the same 7 warning signals. And right now, all 7 are flashing red at the same time. These aren't headlines. They're deep market indicators that Wall Street prefers you never hear about. That's why our friends at American Alternative Assets created the Bellwether Signal, a free report that reveals what these signals mean and how smart Americans are protecting their savings with gold and silver before it's too late. You can download your free copy right now at cloutgold.com or call us at 855-803-GOLD. Again, that's cloutgold.com or call 1-855-803-4653. Get the facts, protect your future, and don't wait for the headlines to catch up. Now, why am I doing this show now? Last year, some of my most popular shows were talking about the issues that come about during the holidays, when family gets together and all of those old issues arise. So in preparing you for that, I thought, let's talk about this before November. Now I realize it's mid-October already. Time to prepare for the holidays. Some of you are already buying your Christmas gifts. This is even better. This is a Christmas gift for you. A Christmas gift for you is for you to become more influential as you're going to Christmas parties, as you're going to Thanksgiving, as the new year approaches. Because yes, with the new year comes New Year's resolutions. If you are more influential, you have a higher probability of matching and meeting those resolutions. Because of course, When you become more influential with regard to other people, you also start listening to you more. So when you tell yourself, no, I'm not going to do that, I'm not going to be drawn in this time, you are far more likely to actually follow through with that. So it's a gift that's multifaceted and it keeps on giving. I can't think of anyone's life that would not be improved by having more influence. That includes getting your kids to listen, having your boss appreciate who you are, being able to speak up and have people not just immediately dismiss what you say. So, we're going to talk about how you can maintain control. We're talking maintaining self control and increase your persuasive influence. So, this is social psychology used for you. Normally, my evil science is used to get you to buy something you don't really need or to get you to vote for someone you don't really trust. Let's do something better than that. So let's talk. Tactic 1, know your audience. Okay? Who are you talking to? Now, let's imagine a scenario. Stay with me, folks. Let's imagine in all of these scenarios, you are having a discussion with someone that turns into a debate because you have differing views on an issue. How come I can't get an iPhone? Everybody in my class has an iPhone too. Of course, we should go there for our vacation. No, it can be anything. It can be at work. It can be at home. Know your audience, because often when you're having a debate with someone, the person you're most likely to influence, or should I say the people you're more likely to influence, are the people listening rather than the one that's arguing with you. Now, that person who's arguing with you, if you make a compelling case, they may go away, have a think, it may eat into their minds, and they, oh, yeah, well, maybe they had a point. But the ones you're most likely to influence are the ones around. Charlie learned this with Turning Point. It is very rare for the person who's arguing with him. Usually what they would do is when they couldn't make a cogent argument against Charlie because he had facts and figures at hand, he would tell them, look it up, take your smartphone out, look this up. I'm not making this up. When they were pushed back because they were incorrect, their response was often just to name call and get nasty and mean. Say, oh, your hair looks silly or whatever. This happens in real life too, not necessarily them calling you a name, but this happens in real life too. Keep in mind when you're debating somebody, if there's anybody else there, you're not just talking to them, you're also communicating a lot to the people watching. And even when it's just two people, if you present an argument, they may not admit they were wrong right then. But if you are clear, calm, and effective, it will eat at them and they may come back later and say, I realize you were right. Here's another way to do it. Debate with confidence and conviction, but not anger. Often the left progressive ideology, as we've spoken about many times, and if you're new to the show, please go back and look at the episodes where we talk about why are people woke. Because we talk about the perceptions, mental health issues, ideology, approaches that make people left progressive. It's very appealing to people who make emotion-based decisions. So they're going to try to do everything they can to knock you off your perch if you're debating with them. One of the ways to do it is to push your buttons. So when you go into the debate, do not allow them to make you angry. Be like the kid who when he had on his MAGA hat and the guy is drumming and saying mean things in his face, the Native American dressed guy saying mean things, and he just has a smile on his face like this one, sort of a Mona Lisa smile, and he just stood there. And of course, later they owed him millions because the press tried to say all of these horrible things about him, but because he never lost his cool, they lost the case. Keep that in mind. Do not argue with anger. If the discussion becomes a heated argument, if you find yourself seeing red, if you find yourself losing control, realize when you feel that way, the rational part of your brain shuts down. So neither side is really open to learning and taking in new information. So it's basically just an exercise on how to make everybody uncomfortable. It's not achieving anything. No one is open to information when they start seeing red, when they start becoming overly emotional. It doesn't have to be anger, it can be tears. When somebody's crying and falling on the floor or whatever they're doing, when emotions are high or they're triggering those primal reactions, anger, fear, lust, nothing rational gets through. So you're wasting your time. Keep that in mind. Now, tactic 3, again, when I'm talking about, you'll notice a lot of emphasis on the other people. First, know your audience. Your audience, when you're making a cogent argument at a family do, I would say we're going to talk about if you should do that. But if it comes up and you can't get out of it, and you are able to maintain your cool and you're able to have facts in hand, please still pay attention to how the other people around you are reacting to the discussion. If the people around are displaying serious emotional discomfort, stop. Please just stop. Your purpose is not to make them uncomfortable. Remember, if there are other people around and you're discussing a topic, your real audience is those people and not the person who's arguing with you and calling you names. So if they're uncomfortable, they're going to stop listening too. And they're going to have a negative impression of the whole discussion. So you're not helping anything. So just stop. Here's another one. I know it's tempting since the struggles we have gone through in the last 10 years are just ridiculous. If you are somebody with common sense, logical, rational, or like me, as a social psychologist, social psychology kept me from being left wing. So I have been not woke for 20 plus years. When I lived around the world, when I lived and worked in the LGBTQ community, when I worked in fields where I'm dealing with primarily left-wing people, I would stop and observe. And I don't believe in being cruel to somebody because they don't share your values. I'm sorry, that's just how I am. Nobody wins like that. So I can work with just about anybody, and I will look for the common thread so we can get along. But it does not mean I don't watch and listen and observe, and it does not mean my principles shift. So here I am, not woke, surrounded by woke for a long time. Then Trump runs for office, and a lot of other people like me watched how he was treated and said, these people, they're always demanding accommodation and tolerance, and they offer none. So we started moving further away from them. I was already there. You guys started moving towards me. But now that we battled assassination attempts, horrible. Trump won the election. He just brought peace in the Middle East. Even Time magazine had to put him on the cover. It's tempting to do what we see the left do all the time. Have you ever come across somebody that's head to toe rainbow, everything, rainbow lanyard, just nose ring, just proclaiming to the world, I am a super left-wing gay person. And you're like, really? You couldn't just interact as a human being? Let's not do the same thing. Save your powder. You don't have to push your views into every situation. If you know you're going into a situation with a bunch of left wing people, don't wear your MAGA gear because that's only going to start a fight. You don't have to do that. They know you're different. So be a little bit smarter than that, okay? If you watch this show, you know I'm a huge fan. What about you? Are you ready to move easily and independently without pain or stiffness holding you back? Do you want to look in the mirror and see a plump, hydrated glow instead of more fine lines and wrinkles? Discover Native Path Collagen, made with only types 1 and 3 collagen fibers, the two most important types that make up 90% of the collagen in your body. It's found in your cartilage, bones, skin, hair, nails, and gut. Types 1 and 3 provide maximum benefits without the need for unnecessary fillers. Native Path Collagen is a single ingredient formula with no fillers, additives, or artificial sweeteners. Plus, it's third-party tested for heavy metals, ensuring purity and safety. Completely flavorless, Native Path Collagen can be added to anything. Coffee, smoothies, oatmeal, you name it. Its peptide formula makes it more bioavailable, meaning it's absorbed more easily and mixes perfectly and without clumping. And the best part? Native Path offers amazing bundle deals. You can get 3 or 6 packs at a fraction of the price of other brands. With over 4 million jars sold, 1 million happy customers, including me, 8,000 5-star reviews, and a 365-day no-risk guarantee, Native Path is a trusted choice. Plus, they offer an 800 number for any questions about usage, recipes, or ingredients, and you'll speak to a real person ready to help. Join their private Facebook community to share success stories, recipes, and support each other on this journey called life. Visit getnativepath.com/dailyclout and start your transformation today. That's getnativepath.com/DAILYCLOUT. So, welcome all the new people. We are talking about increasing your influence superpower. And many of you will note, if you are a fan of Charlie Kirk, if you watched Charlie Kirk and you watched him from an 18-year-old starting turning point to becoming the kind of person where thousands would show up to any speaking event, a lot of what he did is what I'm talking about today. And I'm not demanding that you start a cause and go out to universities and try to convert people. I'm talking about gaining more influence in your own life. Just think of how great your life would be if you didn't have to brace yourself every time there's a family event because all of your family is so left-wing that they reject anything you have to say. I've mentioned many times about the fact that my siblings, my parents have both passed, but my siblings completely reject me because some rejected me for the last 15 years because I don't follow the woke ideology. I saw the harm in it very early. Then when Trump won the election in 2024, that was too much for some of the others. I've even had a sibling try to undermine me when I was advertising the show about Charlie Kirk because she didn't want the people that I knew from high school, mutual friends from high school and beyond, she didn't want them to watch the show and perhaps learn that the left progressive ideology is so severely flawed, it's leading everyone astray. She didn't want them to learn that. She didn't want to learn that her views about Charlie Kirk could have been mistaken. So she actually went on Facebook on our shared on a open Facebook page, a personal Facebook page that I have people from my high school on, and tried to convince them not to listen to me, not to follow the show, not to appreciate the fact that I saw Charlie Kirk's value. So it's hard to deal with. Wouldn't it be better if we could actually convince some of them to come on board? So here's why having more influence, getting your colleagues to actually listen when you pipe up with an idea, getting your boss to recognize your value, getting your kids to actually listen without having to scream. All of this is what we're talking about today. I see being influential as a superpower, and I really don't think Charlie would mind that I am showing appreciation for him when on his birthday, when he's getting the Presidential Medal of Freedom posthumously, awarded to his wife Erica. I don't think he would mind knowing that all of those people who were so motivated to continue his battle, his struggle, are getting key information that will make that possible. And that's what I'm doing for you. So, tactic number 5. If you're just joining us, I'm going to be posting this on my X feed, which is at Dr. Dina 1, DRDINA 1, so you can watch the beginning. Tactic number 5, resist using terms and perspectives contrary to your values. This woman, Ashley Shackelford, she uses a different name now, but she made a fortune during the whole Black Lives Matter trend, standing in front of groups of whites and telling them they were all racist. Now, they paid her quite a bit of money to stand in front of the room and talk about how racist white people are, and to proclaim that white people are demonic, like she did. But she also included a PayPal number, so anybody that felt white guilt as a result of her talk could even pay her more money. And she got away with this. She's still getting away with it. Don't buy into that. I have a video that I'm going to be doing a course on, an online course on, at the beginning of the year. I'm going to talk more about that at the end. And the course is called Why You're Not a Racist. Okay? When we talked about the pathocratic subversion of society, just look up pathocratic subversion. Okay? It's spelled just like it sounds. You'll note that an important part of mass influence is changing definitions and perceptions of groups. So convincing all white people they're racist is a way to make white people so self-conscious that they'll allow themselves to be manipulated, coerced, indoctrinated, and completely taken advantage of. Don't buy into it, please. Redefining language is an incredibly powerful influence maneuver. We're talking about gaining influence. Here's a way not to lose influence. Do not use their terminology. Do not use their perspectives. I can give you another example. Calling trans-identifying males trans women. There's not one cell of their bodies that is a woman. And you note, once people started calling them trans women, they started claiming they were female. A biological term that does not apply to them, not one cell in their body. Do not allow people whose beliefs you do not share to redefine language, because it will impact how you think about these things. They know it's a powerful tool. Now you know too. Avoid, and here's a really biggie. This is one of the reasons that when I have relatives who act up, the ones that are the worst are my cluster B relatives. They're the ones that just cannot be trusted in any way to be able to discuss anything other than the perspective that they share. They are not able to debate anything. They will go over the top. They become very scary. They become hypermanic. Do not discuss anything controversial with a cluster B. Now, again, if you go back to the episodes in the 30s, just look at the episodes, go on Rumble, go on Daily Cloud, find the episodes on Why Are People Woke. There were actually 4 episodes. on when we talked about it, and we focused a lot about how vulnerable people with personality disorders and mental health issues are to the tactics used by the left progressive movement, otherwise known as the woke, because they started calling themselves that. And then they decided it was insulting, but I like it because it's quick, you know what I mean, and it's only 4 letters, so it's easier to write. Now, I included bipolar there, although bipolar disorder is not, it's not clinically assessed as a cluster B, but it's so often linked with cluster Bs that I had to put it in there. And dealing with someone with bipolar disorder also. Just do not get in a discussion with them. They say something, be like the kid, be like the woman, have the smile, and just refuse to engage because they will get hysterical and they will ruin everything for everyone. They are not responsive to ration, logic, solid evidence. Part of having a cluster B personality disorder is emotional dysregulation. It means they can't control themselves. They will go from zero to manic very quickly. So they're also prone to fixation. So if you bring it up and you start saying something, even if you calm things down and say, ooh, they're getting upset, let's change the subject, they aren't going to let it go. They are prone to fixation. So they'll follow you from room to room. I told you I'm related to some of these people, okay? They will follow you room to room, still arguing with you. And the reaction they have is just ridiculous. I've been told, oh, you're dead to me by one of my siblings because I said it is dangerous to start saying we're pregnant instead of the woman is pregnant because it's a way of reducing the woman's role in pregnancy and giving life. That men are not pregnant. When people say we're pregnant, that's dumb. We're expecting a baby, but she's pregnant. If he left, she's still going to have that baby. It is a medical condition, and it's a way of diminishing female power. And you notice I was right because I said this years ago. You notice that all of a sudden with the whole trans movement, they have been moving into female spaces where now we have health departments saying pregnant people. No, that's what happens when you give in to, you allow them to change your language, to try to be polite, to try to not cause trouble. No, be firm and say no. And if you know this person, or if they're displaying indications of having a cluster B personality disorder or bipolar disorder where they're very moody, up and down and up and down, don't get into any type of discussion with them that could turn into something big because it doesn't help anybody. Now, here's a really tough one. And I say it because had to learn to do it. Control your temper. You notice that no matter what he was called, no matter how he was insulted, if you really want to learn a practical way how to do everything we're talking about today, go and find Charlie Kirk's videos on when he was on those campuses. He displays every one of the influence tactics. And you'll notice that people in the crowd that are supporting him get bigger and bigger and bigger. One of the things, and it's tough, control your temper. Do not allow them to say something that gets you angry. Again, I talked about this before. If you know that if people are really angry, nobody's learning, nobody's listening. So all it's doing is making everyone in the room uncomfortable, including you. Increased heart rate, adrenaline, it's very uncomfortable. So do what you can to control your temper. If you find yourself getting upset, learn to self-soothe. You don't even have to go to therapy. You can find courses on for free on YouTube. Do whatever you can to learn to self-soothe. Pay attention to your heart rate. Is your heart rate starting? Is your stomach clenching? Know that means you're getting upset. And then start going into whatever routine helps you self-soothe, whether it's deep breathing, whether it's saying, okay, I just need to go for a walk, whether it's cleaning, and if it's cleaning, you're welcome to get upset and come to my house. That's always nice. Find a way to get your balance back, because you cannot influence and you cannot win through anger. Again, here's another thing. Try to be hopeful and generally upbeat. Okay? If we get together, if we see the flaws, we have been given such a blessing by our Creator. We can fix this. Let's be hopeful about the future. Let's make it easy to be around us. People who are doom and gloom all the time, nobody wants to be around them. And I can tell all of you bosses and managers here, there have been so many studies on how having a negative person in a team or in a group that's project oriented lowers productivity, reduces the viability of the results. It's not just that they're depressing to be around. They actually have an impact on the outcome. So people are naturally drawn away from them. So do not focus on the negative. It will lower your motivation, for one thing, but it'll also make it much harder for you to influence other people. Again, here's another thing. Charlie's made it easy for me. May God bless him and rest him. I am hoping he is still watching us and smiling about all the work all of us are doing to continue his mission. Stand on your principles. Do not give in to bullying. Do not, if you have principles against anything being pushed by the woke, say, we're going to have to agree to disagree. Do not give in, because they will see that as a sign of weakness and they will continue to push. And again, you have to do the same thing. Notice Charlie never said, because I said so. When he would have an argument, he would have facts. He'd keep them on his phone. I've told you, you have a notes. If you have a smartphone, you have a notes app on your smartphone. Keep the names of articles or Twitter feeds or X feeds or something that you saw that validates your point. Keep it accessible and then show it to someone. But if they don't want to look, if they make excuses for not looking, if they say, well, that study was more than a year ago, so it's not valid, they'll make a lot of excuses not to look. Don't force the point. Remember, you're not just trying to convince them, you're convincing everyone around. And those people may look it up. And that person later, when you're not there, when they're too embarrassed to admit they were wrong, when you're not there anymore, they may actually decide to look and see what you were talking about. So don't force it. While I do not want you to give in to bullies, please also don't be a bully yourself. Tactic 10. Please learn where to find facts to support your views. The good thing is there's so much information on X, and X allows you to save it. You can make little files with different types of information. I have one called important. I have another one called woke nonsense. Another one called violence against women. I save different information in my little files. If somebody wants to know, I can just click on it and say here. And here's the name of that journal article that they got it from. You can put it on the notes. You can memorize some of it, especially if it's easy for you to remember or if it's in your field. Make sure that the facts that support your views are something the other person can look up. Don't say, I think I read something, because they're going to find a way to dismiss it. Say, I think I read something. Give me a second. Let me look, because I know I saved where the article is. Give me a second. And do you want me to send it to you so you can look too? Even if you send it, they probably won't read it. But again, what about anybody else that's watching? Tactic 11. I talked about being generally upbeat and hopeful, because if you're doom and gloom, it's too hard to even get out of bed, let alone convince anybody of anything. Be warm, be appreciative, and with a sense of humor. This is something I talk about in my flagship program, Healing the Rift, which I developed back in 2020 when all the diversity programs started coming out and they started forcing everyone to do diversity training. I took social psychology and I developed an alternative program that was anti bias. I talked about how bias is a natural phenomenon. We all have it, positive and negative. We're biased towards some things too. And how, if we are warm, appreciative, with a sense of humor, we can, at least on a superficial level, at least on a team building level where we have a specific goal, we can get along well with just about anybody. You don't have to want to socialize with them. You don't have to bring them home. You don't have to have a commitment. But if you're warm, appreciative, and have a sense of humor, you're not only more likely to influence the person you're debating with, again, it gives you better influence with the people observing because they see that you're not debating your points based on just being negative. And there's this huge point. Please cement this, nail this to your forehead. People will listen to you more if they like you. People will buy from you more if they like you. People will promote you more if they like you. So be likable. Be someone who notices what someone does well and make sure that it's sincere. If you compliment someone, make sure it's a sincere compliment because people tend to be kind of wary of a phony. Now, phony compliments still work better than nothing at all. Isn't that weird? Thanks, brain. But nothing works like sincere notice and sincere appreciation and compliments. Number 12, do not surrender the moral high ground. One of the ways the woke have become so effective is that they took over the media early. They took over the universities early. We're talking about back in the 60s. They started taking over both the universities and they started taking over the media and convincing the public that being tolerant of selfishness and sin and depravity and wrong was actually moral, actually made you a good person. By the 90s, they started convincing church elders that this was the case. So we now have some churches that are promoting everything that goes against any kind of biblical principle, and not just biblical principle, any kind of credible social science will say, if you promote this, it leads to disaster, which is why they often don't want you to look. Do not surrender the moral high ground. Being someone of high accountability, looking at consequences, thinking about the flow out results of actions, looking at the flow on, what's going to happen in the future, what's it going to lead to, will keep you on the moral high ground. And it's amazing. Even if you are completely secular, you are not religious at all, there is a complete parallel between traditional Judeo-Christian principles and what social science has found to be the most effective way to run a culture and a society. Isn't that interesting? So do not surrender. Don't let them get away with acting as though accepting predatory behavior and wrong and enabling people to do bad things is somehow the moral high ground. Be calmly confident regarding your values and beliefs. And again, I know if you thought Charlie Kirk, like my sister, was a racist, xenophobe, whatever, you haven't listened to what he said. And we're talking not just about what he said, we're talking today really about how he said it and how you can use those same methods to become far more influential. Be calmly confident regarding your beliefs and values. If someone tries to bully you, if someone says, I'm more moral than you because I'm tolerant of all this, no, they're wrong. And just calmly withdraw. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm not convinced. Tactic 13. This is important. Holidays coming, holidays coming. Master timing and location. If you want to have a debate with someone about something, and it's important to you, perhaps it's important to the other person, make sure you do it at the right time. Don't go, for instance, to an office party or to a family dinner and upset everybody by talking about something that's very heated. Don't take it into a work situation where people are so limited in how they can express their views that all you're going to do is make yourself look like a hothead and you're going to make everybody feel uncomfortable. Choose your timing, okay? And plan with circuit breakers where and if needed. Remember last year, and you can see it, and I'm probably going to do another show on it because it's so important. Last year we talked about how things go awry at family events and holidays because people don't plan ahead. And I'm not just talking about who brings what dish to Thanksgiving. I'm talking about thinking to yourself before you go, what are the personalities of the people who are going to be there? And if things go wrong like they did last year, let me give myself some options. Those are the circuit breakers. Sometimes if something's getting heated, if you're someone with a good sense of humor, you can respond with a joke. You can excuse yourself and do something else. You can go play with the kids. You can go do the pickup because you ran out of drinks. You can find a way to break the tension if it gets too heated. And especially if the person bringing the drama is a cluster B, plan ahead with a variety of circuit breakers so that you don't get drawn in, because it will upset you, it will upset everyone else there. They will hold a grudge. I love drama as long as it's positive drama. I'm talking real life drama. I'm not talking about watching a film. I love positive drama. When somebody says, like when my daughter told me, "Oh, I'm engaged," I was thrilled. He's such a good guy. I love drama like that. Negative drama, no. Tactic 14. If you've watched this show before, you know I keep talking about the importance of this. Keep building your integrity. The more integrity you have, the better your life results will be. Be a person of your word. Do what you say and say what you'll do. Honesty, loyalty. You gain so much trust, and someone who's trusted has enormous influence. Nothing makes you more alpha and influential than being a person of your word. And because integrity depends on no one else, you can start as soon as this show finishes. You can say to yourself, anytime I say something, I'm now obligated to do it. If I cannot guarantee I will do it, I will not say I will. I will not make promises easily, because once I make a promise, unless there's a life-altering emergency, I must keep my word. Small things and large things. You tell your kids, if you don't pick up your toys, then you're not going to the amusement park on Saturday. They don't pick, you can say it calmly. Once you have integrity, they know if they don't pick up their toys, they're not going anywhere on Saturday. You don't have to yell, you don't have to threaten. You're a person of your word. This is the number one way to gain influence, is to have integrity. Also, embrace the growth mindset. Carol Dweck has done amazing information on this. I've talked about it on a number of shows, and her last name is spelled D like David, W-E-C-K. She's a professor at Stanford University, my alma mater. She has done wonderful work on the growth mindset. And again, like integrity, it is flipping a switch in your brain. It is saying, when I come across a challenge, I can overcome this. I can win this. If I'm willing to put the effort in, I can do this. I find challenges interesting because it's an opportunity to learn. And when you tell yourself that, guess who listens? Your brain. She's actually, if you look at her up on YouTube, she shows you when they've done MRIs and had people with a growth mindset versus somebody who says, if I don't do it easily the first time, it's not for me, I just can't do it. That's called a fixed mindset. When she's compared the two, and they've actually watched them under MRIs, the person with the growth mindset has lights going off all over their brain because their brain is saying, okay, how do we do this? How do we fix this? How do we take this challenge and win? While the fixed mindset person will have one part of their brain light up and everything else is dark. So this is really, it's the simplest thing I've ever seen. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. It is simple though. You have to decide. Just like when I've talked about anger and I've taught about anger and I talked about like not yelling at people and screaming at people and calling them names and saying cruel things that you can't take back. I used to have a terrible temper. What did I do to change it? I took away my permission. It was a single decision. I told myself, now I don't have to accept being mistreated, but I don't have the right to mistreat someone else regardless of how I'm provoked. I don't give myself permission. You stop giving yourself permission, it's a lot easier to control your temper. And also, if you understand that you getting upset and angry or emotional, it's not going to help anybody learn anything. It's just going to put all these chemicals in your body that are going to make you feel physically uncomfortable. You'll tell yourself, I don't want that. So when I start to feel that, let me figure out a way to soothe myself, to calm myself so I don't do it. Growth mindset helps you because no matter what your history is, no matter what your age, if you are above the ground and not below it, the study of neuroplasticity, which has blossomed over the last 15 years, it shows you can continue to learn until you die. So, no excuses. Growth mindset. And please buy Carol Dweck's book, support her work. She's done a brilliant job. She also has a TED Talk if you want to see what she's offering the world. And it's a huge gift. Now, tactic number 16, minimize your time with people or situations that push your buttons. So plan ahead. If you have those relatives that are always causing trouble, I actually had relatives that even if I maintained all the calm in the world and said, okay, I'm not going to be drawn in, I'm not going to let anybody push my buttons, someone would walk in the room and get angry about something I hadn't even said or hadn't even done. Sometimes you're dealing with people with issues and they're looking for an excuse to start an argument. So you minimize your time with those people. You minimize the contacts. When you're at Thanksgiving, you spend more time with the kids or you spend more time talking to the other people. You avoid spending a lot of time with the troublemakers because they're just looking for an excuse to start a drama and because cluster Bs hold grudges forever. I recall having a discussion with one of my cluster B relatives, and I calmly stated facts that disputed what was being said. And the person got really emotional and accused me of hurting their feelings back when we were small kids under the age of 10. Well, I can't change that. But to bring that in as a way of disputing what I'm saying, minimize your time with these folks. So no, I don't want to live around these people. No. Okay. If you have both integrity and a growth mindset, know it will shield you. It will increase your vulnerability to those people. You will walk away no matter how much they've tried to annoy and irritate you, no matter how much they've tried to push your buttons, even if they've tried one of the worst things they can do, they've tried to embarrass and humiliate you in front of other people, which is really painful. You will walk out of that situation feeling triumphant because you did not allow yourself to get drawn in. Now, again, if the person is logical, rational, and just has a different perspective because they've been indoctrinated by mainstream media, you might try actually presenting alternative perspectives and viewpoints backed by facts, but take it in, drop it, and leave it. Don't belabor the point, because then they'll feel harassed and they may stick their heels in and get really stubborn about it, and you don't want that. You want to leave them room to change their minds. But again, integrity plus a growth mindset, this is the superpower. It's the shield. And please teach it to your children. Children are never too young to be held accountable for their actions and what they say. You don't have to be mean or horrible, but let them see you having integrity, and you expect integrity from them, and you are going to raise some wonderful human beings. Another power key before we end, I have to emphasize this, please. Please, please, please continue to avoid persuasive manipulation. I would say the majority of people who appreciate my work are still so vulnerable because they make excuses for why they have to continue to expose themselves to the manipulation. And if you go back, look at episode 51, Mind Control Detective Game. I actually make a game of it, but I actually show you all these different ways that mainstream media, the left progressive mainstream media, works hard to indoctrinate you and brainwash you. And once you know, it's pretty easy to start, pulling yourself away, but you've got to know, and you've got to be consistent. Before I move on, this whole issue, can I say this? This whole issue about Bad Bunny being the halftime act at the Super Bowl, it is not enough for you to tune in to an alternative Super Bowl halftime show. If you are watching the NFL at all, you are paying them for spitting on our country. You are paying them for being divisive. You are paying them for promoting woke ideology, because they get money from their advertisers based on viewership. So if you are still watching, you are supporting something you claim not to believe. We know how to do this. We have to Bud Light the NFL, and especially Bud Light the Super Bowl. If the Super Bowl is the only thing you watch, don't watch it anymore. You have to minimize your exposure. Why do I say this? Because I keep emphasizing it's not about intelligence. It's not about wariness or acknowledgement. If you continue to expose your brain to that content, your brain, the part of your brain that influences almost 90% of your choices, does not have a filter. It bases what it adapts to according to what it's exposed to. So you continue to expose yourself to it, you are telling your brain you accept these values, and it may not move you all the way there, but it will move you. So any questions or comments? Let's see what we got here. Someone, Imaginary Football Podcast, said, listen to the Imaginary Football Podcast. It's a comedy football podcast. Thank you. That is an alternative. Now, if you find my work valuable, please consider having the organization you work for, whatever it is, consider hiring me. Ethical Strategic Solutions, we teach all the things that you're teaching your staff, including team building and how to get along better. And if you do domestic violence training, if you do gambling harm education, we do all of that, but we actually get measurable results. Our results are significantly better because I teach it according to how the brain works. Unlike everybody else who just uses the same information year after year, we have inspired learning. So please consider giving me a call and talking. And also know I'm going to be having online classes next year. I hope you guys will get involved. So thank you, everyone, for joining me. Imaginary Football Podcast says here truckers versus deer, dragons versus knights, chickens versus weasels. It's designed to be funny. Watch that instead. So thank you very much. Contact me on X. If you Imaginary Football Podcast, go on X and post what you just post so people can see what you're doing. Anyone else? Questions, comments? Contact me. My business, ethicalstrategic.com, or go on X at Dr. Dina1. And thank you for being here. I will see you next Tuesday. Remember, no more boring Tuesdays.